Well, welcome everyone to my seminar. My name is Eva Hartell and I'm very happy to be here. And I'm so pleased that ResearchEd has finally come to Scandinavia. I was at the national conference in London in September and I was just wanting everyone to participate in this, and also that the Swedish teachers have the opportunity to be here as well. I am a teacher myself. I used to teach STEM subjects in 10 to 16-year-olds, and then I got the opportunity to start to do research. I finished a licentiate where I concluded that teachers are left alone in their assessment practices. And then just a year ago, I finished a PhD with a conclusion that affordance for teachers' assessment practices must be increased. We know so much about assessment, but we need to make the environment good for the teachers as well. I work with R&D in Haninge kommun. It's a municipality just south of Stockholm, and I'm also affiliated researcher at KTH, or Institute of Technology. I will tell, usually when I give talks like this, I talk about my thesis. But this time I will talk about a project that I've been involved in parallel with my doctoral studies. It's how to embed formative assessment. And when I was supposed to submit a title for my presentation, I was so frustrated. I thought, we know so much about this, and we have tried so many things, and it's still not happening. What are we doing? How can we support teachers? And or are things happening? Are they pseudo formative assessments, or is it formative assessment, and for whom? And what do the pupils think of it? Anyway, I'm not sure if you have noticed, but follow-up and assessment is quite, it's a big issue in the public debate. I'm not sure if you have noticed it, but I've heard that it's a big issue. And also, it can mean many different things to different people in different context and in different time, and from different perspectives as well, and different purposes. But we also know that it's a strong candidate to raise student achievement. But we also know that it has to be handled with care, because I have written a lethal weapon. I'm not sure if it can be a lethal weapon, but it can be very offensive, and also you have to be handled with care. And we also have stakeholders, different stakeholders on different levels in the society. The strongest stakeholder should be the pupil, of course, but we have also the teachers and the school leaders and politicians, and we also have external stakeholders who are willing to provide their own solutions for the teachers on how to do things to fit their agenda as well. And there's a lot of money involved in this as well. Summative assessment, formative assessment, you can label assessment for in different ways. There's also difference between who you ask what summative assessment is, or formative. I think you have heard that formative assessment is the good thing, or maybe you heard that summative is the bad thing. Why? How can we elaborate on that discussion? Is it so? For what purposes are we doing assessment for learning, assessment of learning? If we go back to what assessment actually stems from, is the Latin word assidere, which means to sit by. And in my thesis I elaborate. I'm not a language teacher, so I take my own ways of elaborating with the language. So I took the word for student, pupil, elev in Swedish, and I translated pupil to pupil, the apple of the eye, the sweetheart. And if you take assessment, which means to sit by, your sweetheart, you get a much smoother and more building on relations in the classrooms as well. I work in Haninge. Haninge is a municipality where about 84,000 people live. 25% of those who live there are born in another country. As you can see on this map, we have a lot of archipelago. We have schools in remote areas, in small islands, very small schools. We have big schools and we have high-rise buildings, socio-economic challenge areas. We have farmland. We have, like Sweden, in a condensed way. And also we have different challenges within our municipality. We have heard, at least I've heard a couple of presentations today that makes international comparisons. We can make a comparison between schools in our own municipality as well. In our school program for our school is the motto of 100%. We believe that we should try and make the good for our students. It should be like this in all municipalities, but we have taken a stance 100% is what every student should make success in all subjects. That's the main goal. And that goal stems from in 2004, my municipality was ranked as the least successful, the worst municipality in the whole country. And this ranking was made by the teachers union. And you can say many things about that ranking, but it got a lot of press. Even in the Dagens Nyheter, one of the biggest morning papers, it was on the front page in the top end of the corner, where you usually have news of world wars and really big issues. But there was Haninge is the worst municipality for schools in the whole country. And as you can say about these rankings, you can come with lots of excuses, etc. But it was really, I just started to work in Haninge, and I was like, what? Have I changed to the worst school district ever? I couldn't recognize. I have had quite a good good experience from working there. But it was a starting point for the whole municipality. The politicians, the school leaders, and also the teachers. Like, we have to do something. But in order to do something, we need to know what we were already doing. So a lot of initiatives were undertaken on different levels, working with teachers, doing reorganizations of schools. The politicians had their agenda and lots of things. But I will tell you about one of these initiatives that has been going on for a couple of years now. Started in 2010. It's like embedding formative assessment in Haninge, planning and implementation. This is an overview. It started in 2010, but something, at least here in Sweden, a big event was held in Borås, and it was like a really starting point. We have heard about formative assessment, but what they did was invited people from all over the country. I was there, and all the school leaders of the secondary schools in Haninge was there. They needed to hear this. That was what we could do to raise achievement. And everyone, Dylan William was there, had a presentation, and everyone was, oh wow, this is really good. We have to do something. And the school principals went home and told the teachers, you have to do this. And nothing happened. So we invited this really good presenter and inspired all the teachers. All the teachers were to listen to Professor William, and everyone was so inspired. It was like a hallelujah moment for everyone. And some things happened, actually. People come there, they were strengthened in their self-efficacy, and they tried to do things, but nothing. It still was like, we see something, but how can we do this better? Some teachers were doing things, and not that much, but some things happened. And then we wanted to visit a school that had formative assessment spreading all over the world, but we wanted to see a school that had been working to implement formative assessment for a while. So we visited a school outside of London, and we asked them, how have you done, and what do you think of it, and what results have you seen, etc. And we used the model, the TLC model, and we translated it into Swedish and made it available for all the schools in our municipality. And what we wanted to do, just not to make this different techniques and lollipop sticks, and yes? I'll 2 more slides and you will know. Thank you for asking. We wanted to not just make teachers doing different techniques. we wanted to have actually not pseudo-formative assessment, we wanted to have real formative assessment, whatever that is. But and this was what we wanted to teachers to embed in their classroom practice. And a TLC model, we thought that we could have a go and we could try that for our teachers. It was made designed by Dilla William and Siobhan Levy in England. How can we use that in Sweden? And I know that many Swedish schools have tried this, and they have modeled it a bit, and they have made their own models as well. But we did the same as they had done in England, just translated into Swedish to make it more accessible to the Swedish teachers. And the model is, you have teacher learning communities, that's TLC, teacher learning communities. Teachers, a group of 10 or 12, they meet once a month for 2 years. And they try things and they discuss. And they try things in the classrooms and then discuss with colleagues. And they also involve peer observations, where the teachers, I as a teacher invite you, one of you, to come and help me with something that I want to be better at. So it's peer observation for the person who has observed, not just for the observer. It has a tight but loose structure, so the frames are set, but within that you have quite a lot of freedom, because you just can't do what the principals in Haninge try to do, just tell the teachers what to do. The teachers know what to do in the classroom, but they need support from colleagues in order to do that. And it's not dependent on school year. And you can start in August or you can start in January, but you have to continue for 2 years, which has been kind of tricky. I'll get back to that. We decided to keep the name TLC, because tender, love and care, because you need to be tender and lots of love to work with teachers and support them in their own profession. We have 16 schools in Haninge, in compulsory schools, and they range from schools in the remote island, and we have big schools with like 1,000 students as well. We have 16 principals. Each principal is head of each school. And as a school developer, I often find kind of tricky to work with principals, because they have their own ideas and they kind of change jobs quite often, and they want to reorganize, etc. But we decided, instead of the school board will say that everyone has to start with TLC now, starting in August. The head of all the grundskolechef, the head of the principals, he said, this is an offer. You can decide when it fits your agenda in your schools. So in 2013, 3 schools started. The first school, we call it School A. It's year 1 to 9. They have about 900 students, 50 teachers. They had like a vicious circle, according to their principal, with reassignments, make-up assignments, reassessments, and students who were failing, they were carrying in their backpack even more. They got more and more they had to do. They never could catch up. And the teachers their workload was also increasing, because they had to make sure that everyone was succeeding. So it was like a vicious circle. They started and they continued for 1.5 years, quite successfully. And then the school principal decided to change job. And then the project ended. And then the new principal, she tried different things, but they did not focus on this project, which had been implemented quite successfully and planned ahead for a long time as well. It sort of died. But in January, a lot of teachers also left from this school. But in January this year, the teachers who remained at this school, they decided themselves that they wanted to restart. They want to restart the TLC. So that now, from their own professional judgment, they have decided we want to have another go, because it was they really liked the way of working. School B is a year 1 to year 6 school. They had in 2013, they had just got a new principal, And he wanted to do something to get the colleagues of the school together. So he decided that the teachers should be organized in TLC. And he went on for 2 years. And this school leader, he safeguarded, he kept away all other projects, because principals are offered with loads of different projects that are often called very successful, etc. But he kept the focus and safeguarded the teachers for 2 years. After 2 years, he said, or the teacher said, we just got started, and now we will continue with Matematiklyftet, the boost for mathematics. It's a big project here in Sweden. But they didn't finish the TLC. They just continued with Matematiklyftet. School C, on the other hand, since 2013, they have 3 principals. Changed quite often. They have started. Actually, the former principal called me 2 days ahead. In August, can you come to my school and have a kickoff for the TLCs? We are going to start. My schedule was busy, so they jumped on school B's kickoff. So we had like a big group, and then for 1 semester, and then the project died. And then the teachers wanted themselves to restart it. Then they changed school principal again, so the project died. And now they have a book club instead. And a very nervous principal, because he's very anxious about the student results. And school D, they haven't started yet. And it's up to the principal. They have had the same principal for 3 years, but they have other things on their agenda. But we will get back to school D. So what about the results? Well, I was doing this project parallel with my doctoral studies, but I collected data from the teachers. I thought it would become useful sometime. And for this presentation, I analyzed like a force field analysis. The teacher said what forces can promote this project, or what focus can keep it from not happening. And they say that all the teachers said, we look forward to this intervention. And it's expressed in different ways. Well, I've been around before. When the principal gets an idea, well, let's get going, and we know what happened. They get a new idea. But they were also very eager to say that, well, I'm often want to try out new ideas. They were a bit concerned or fear of lack of time, of course, increased workload, and also their colleagues' fatigue and their colleagues' rigid minds, which is kind of interesting. Really interesting to dig deeper into that. And they also identified the school principal as the key for possible success of the project. And what did they say afterwards, after 2 years? This is school B. They say, we just got started. But on school, both A and B, they say, and also on some other schools, they say that the students are more active. They say they're more like active agents. They have high demands on the teachers as well. They want to know what's expected of them. And the teachers also say that the peer observation. One teacher said, finally, after 30 years, I'm not alone in my classroom. That's horrible, I think. Teacher should not be a solo project. They also say that there are less reassessments, less make-up assignments for students, which also a decrease in workload for the teachers, but also, of course, better for the students. This is what they say. So what about the students, the pupils? I wish I had more data from pupils, how they perceive this. But some of them say, well, I pay more attention now. I'm not sure if I learn more, but I pay more attention. And my mates do as well. And when the teacher asks them, have you noticed anything recently that we have changed? Well, it's much calmer in the classroom, they say. And this is what teachers have collected, and when we talk to the kids, we have not systematically as we should, but there are like anecdotes at least. But they are very coherent. But what about large scale? We have a questionnaire that is launched among our students every year with different kinds of questions. But when I look at the questions related to formative assessment, like I know what I have what to do in order to reach the learning intentions in school, the schools that has participated have higher, the students agree more on this. They also have higher results when schoolwork makes me want to learn more. When I get challenges in school as well, and I know how much progress I'm doing. And the interesting thing is that we have data from 2 years, and the biggest rise are in schools that have participated in these teacher learning communities. We don't know why. We have to, because a lot of things are happening in schools, and you can't just blame this project for all the good things that has happened, but it will be really interesting to dig deeper into to understand what has happened. If it has happened, or they just reply as we ask them to do. According to the principals, these two principals who has worked for this quite intense, they also say that they notice that pupils are agents. These two principals are quite extraordinary because they actually do classroom visits. It's not that common, but these two do. And they also see that the teachers are supported in their leadership in the classroom. I would really like to investigate that more as well, and what the teachers' perception of that is. They also say that we have just started, we want to continue, and they use it for recruitment. They use it when they interview teachers, also in the ad for teachers. It's quite there's a lack of trained teachers in Sweden at the moment, and they have seen that they use this to recruit new teachers. So their conclusion is that the important is to safeguard time for teachers to have these meetings. One of the principals, he said, not just said, he actually did, if you don't attend these meetings, the only excuse is to die, or someone else has died. Otherwise you have to be, it's not voluntary. Some teacher meets are, some teachers think it's voluntary. They book other things, but this was really safeguarded this time. They think the TLC model was good support, and they give this advice to all. I'm not sure if there's any principles here, but these two teachers really advise you to not believe in quick fix. You have to work for this for a long time. And they have other suggestions on how to implement this and talk about it in different settings as well. And when they look back, they sort of regret, they wish they had done more to read literature on assessment, to get the theory. But maybe that could be continue this. Also, they wish they had involved the students more. And also, they said, it was really difficult to keep my fingers off. They were seeing that the teachers were having such a great time, and they were really, really curious, and they wanted to be there. But at the TLC meeting, the school leaders are not supposed to be there. What about student achievement? Formative assessment is said that it's something to, if you want to do something to raise achievement, you should focus on formative assessment. It isn't that easy. I wish I could say that we have raised student achievement to 100%. We haven't, of course. And we have raised achievement, but we can't say for sure that it's this project, because there have been so many things. It's quite different, but something has happened since 2004, when we were ranked at the place 290. We have 290 municipalities. Now we are 274. But this ranking involves also, here comes the excuses, open hours on kindergarten, and how good the municipality is with it to discuss with the teacher unions, etc. But also merit points, the meritvärde, the grade total. I'm not sure if that's correct, but meritvärde in Swedish. If you add the SALSA, it's a value-added model, sort of provided by socio-economical index. Thank you, Per. We compensate at least, because Haninge is the least educated municipality in almost in Sweden, but in the Stockholm region. And we want everyone. We have. It's not an excuse, but it feels kind of good to see that we are doing some adding here. So, and a great total. After many years now, we are finally at the average of Sweden. We haven't never been there before, and maybe it's something in the water. I think it's actually the teachers who's doing a great job, and I hope that they are supported in their profession to do so. As you might have noticed, we have used a lot of Dylan and Siobhan's work, and they say how. Of course, you want to raise student achievement, but how? What can along the way? What indicators of success can we find? Well, teachers are given time to meet, and this is a crucial point. I've been involved in in schools who had started up TLC meetings and all lots of other projects, and they continue for a semester or so, and then they have a new project that they will continue for 3 months or so, and then they have a new project. And have to have work for a long period of time, and to get a teacher together once a month for 1.5 hours. It shouldn't be that, but teachers are already working 100%, so you have to take something else away. Kind of tricky. And also, as a school leader, you have to plan ahead also. Teachers are increasingly act as critical friends. I'm not sure if I said that, but the teachers, they say that through these meetings and a peer observation, they are building a professional language. They see each other's practice, so they have something to talk about, and they learn from each other, and they was collegial and also collective learning. Never mind. And students are more engaged in classroom. Well, both the students and the teachers say so. So at least that we can tick that indicator off. And teachers are modify techniques in appropriate ways. We have lots of really nice examples. For instance, one teacher she got a new pupil in her class. So she provided the student with a book and a desk and a pencil and a rubber and etc. And then she started the lesson, and she always used the lollipop sticks who would answer the questions. And then she drew a lollipop stick and said, and there was Fiona, whatever name the new girl had. And she just reminded herself, oh my God, I've forgotten to make a lollipop stick for Fiona. But someone of her 8-year-old pupils had made a lollipop stick for the new student. And they continued the lesson, and after a while she just, Fiona again, another lollipop stick. So these 8-year-olds had done something that the teacher had forgotten, to make, invite their new classmate in their class. I think that's at least an indicator in that classroom that something is happening. And also another technique that if you pose questions and you draw lollipop sticks who will answer, you have some student who wants to say something. One of the students said, if I do like this, I have a comment. So they were allowed to speak then. It's quite nice. And there's a shift in the ownership of the reform. At least in the school B, the teachers themselves, they actually told their new principal to leave us alone. We know what we want to do. So we want to restart the TLC again. And with our new colleagues, because they have changed a lot of teachers in that school, they need to start from all over again, maybe. But we want to do this. We really want to do this. And luckily, the principal let them do this. So they are continuing working with that. We also see that this is what teachers also say, that students answer in whole sentences instead of just well, yeah, They say in whole sentence in their answers. I'm not sure if anyone else have found that, but it's quite interesting. And also the fact that they say that teachers are strengthening the leadership. I think that would be quite interesting to dig deeper into that. What can we do to support teachers in the leadership in the classrooms? Is this the way, or with peer observation and learning from each other? Better work environment. I also see that in the questionnaire that is launched among the teachers, that schools that have done this are more content with their work environment. And interesting is that when I interview teachers afterwards, no one mentions increased workload. I asked them that because it was one of the anticipations towards this project that the workload would increase, and they say no. It's also another question that would be really interesting to dig deeper in. And lessons learned from our context. This has worked in these schools, maybe, but it might not work for you or in that school. I have lots of examples from Haninge also that has not been as successful as these, and mostly due to the school principal who can't keep focus. Instead of 1.5 hours for this meeting, they have scheduled 45 minutes. You just have to talk faster. But if you have a discussion, you have to have time to talk and think and reflect. So they need strong and focused leaders, and also support on all levels. In Haninge, we have supported from the school board. We have supported the principals. The principals has to support their teachers, so in all levels. And also the politicians has to support the whole project as well. Schedule and prioritize these meetings in the calendar, and organize for teachers to see each other's practice. Just don't tell teachers to go and see each other, go make observations, and etc. So many teachers. When I was working as a teacher, I'm not sure how many times my principal, you have to watch each other teach, etc. But for what purpose? And no one actually did it. But here we have like a frames or format for teachers to actually invite someone else into your classroom and also take the step inside someone else's classroom. It's quite a big step. If you haven't worked as a teacher, maybe you think that's easy peasy. But it's quite a big step to actually invite someone in your classroom. And we have to open the doors here. And I think, again, the TLC model has worked fine for us. It has kept the focus. Not sure if it will work in other settings, and also the issue external expert. These meetings are run by the teachers themselves. The school leaders are not there. I have not participated in any of these meetings. I would have loved to, but maybe I'm not sure, but what would have happened in the discussions if I were there? I would really wanted to know, but I have not participated there. So what's up now? Well, we have definitely not finished. And on strategic level, I can say we have a change in leadership from our head of compulsory school, grundskolechef. Her name is Lina Kilbom, and she's an extremely focused leader, and she is working really strongly with her group of professionals, the school principals, and she's supporting them. But she also put the I'm not sure if you say this in English, but put the thumb in the eye to make them really do what they're supposed to do. And she actually visits the schools and say, how many students are on the risk of failing the subjects? How many high achievers do you have? And she visits them on regular basis. And if the numbers are the same, she said, we can't have that. What have you done? What will you do? And you said you were supposed to do this. Why haven't you done that? For me, this is quite controversial to have a school leader to actually try to work with the principals like this. Very interesting. And we are working with our our first teachers. They This semester they are focused. We use Bruk. It's like a tool for follow-up provided by Skolverket, and it's just a checklist. I think it's 330 something boxes to tick. But this semester we work with one. It's called Assessment for Learning, and the school are focusing on that. And they are not told that you have to do the TLC model, but the TLC model are provided if they want to do it. If they want to have a book club, fine, do that, but follow up what is happening, etc. We also have subject-specific assessment. I did my PhD on assessment in technology education. Subject-specific assessment, most things on assessments are very general. But it's also very subject-specific. To pose a question in technology is not the same as pose a question in Swedish or in physics even. You have to know your subjects, and you know to you need to have a good understanding of what common misconceptions. I can't speak English anymore. Misunderstandings among students. That's why we have a MOOC now. Monica and I, my colleague, and I have networks of teachers, and you can gather teachers. They want to talk, and you just buy them coffee and they will talk. But we also want to have a structure and have something focused on assessment, but also focusing on STEM subjects. So we are doing a MOOC together. So we call it like blended learning now. We're very modern, but we meet a couple of times, and then we have a chat on Facebook, etc., to support each other on assessment for learning in the STEM subjects. And we have teachers who teach year 1, and we also have teachers who work at the gymnasium, upper secondary school, so from 7-year-olds to 18-year-olds. And they get together for discussions on how to pose a question, how to design questions. I can say it's very, very interesting. But in order to increase affordance for teachers' assessment practices, we need all levels involved in this. For the long run, you need to like policymakers and also the politicians. And here's this is Maria. She was here. She's here at the conference, and she's the highest politicians for compulsory school in Haninge, and she needs to be involved, and her colleagues, and the school board needs to be involved, and the principals, so all the supported. But the most important group that needs to be involved are the teachers and the students. The longer you get away from the classroom, the less effective you have to work with the teachers. So future challenges: how to endure changes in school leaders. I have no. If you have an answer, please give it to me. Also, how to involve all levels in organization and how to keep up pace and go from. I think that we have got started, but how can we continue to be like embodied practices and professional learning instead of just professional development, professional learning, and also to support teachers' self-efficacy on assessment. All these stakeholders who are providing teachers with materials to assess their kids, willing to take away the teachers' workload or also their professionalism. How can we support teachers in their self-efficacy? And also from the review of Hirsch and Lindberg, the pupil's perspective. How can we gather evidence for the pupil's perspective? And that's what we are planning now to start in August on School D. That hasn't got started yet with TLC. And we will continue to do so, but it's quite difficult. Here's from another school. This 8-year-old has said, I want to get better at to count to 1,000, crosswords, read, and numbers. That's okay, and muffins. Where did that come from? It's difficult to talk with small kids, but they know so much, so we're really eager to go on with that. And also the most difficult part on all these levels is to use the data we have. Use the information to adapt what happens in the classroom. And even greater challenge, I think, also become very evident at this conference is this. We know from our data in, at least in my municipality, that the differences between schools are nothing compared to the differences between the classrooms. And also this money-making business. I'm quite concerned about that. And also we have to do something to support the teachers here, the key group in this. So next time, when I have followed the School D for a while, I can provide the answers to all these questions. You just have to come and listen to me at the research in 2000XX something. So, thank you so much for listening to my Swinglish and to my presentation this late afternoon. And please keep in touch. Thank you. Questions?
Yes, there's a common framework for professional learning developing, have been developing, where the TLC is working nicely with collaborative learning. There's peer observations. There's all these elements. Philip accordingly just earlier said that the role of the expert could be exchanged with a book in certain settings. So you have a book, you have a material that does some of it. But there's one aspect I would ask you. One aspect that's quite has been shown to be quite important if you want to have results on students' learning is that you are subject specific. So my question is not why you're not that, but do you think there is any way to use formative or to create some kind of support or system for how to use formative assessment more subject specific? And would that be an interesting development?
I absolutely think so, yes. And we have examples of schools that I worked with. They have, for the first year, they have like general groups, different subjects. And the second year, they go and have subject-specific groups. And when the workshop, the different workshops have different themes. And one of the workshops are on learning intentions or design hinge point questions. And then they reorganize and have this subject specific instead. Also to challenge each other and work collaborative around the subject. And also we need more research, of course, regarding what is formative assessment in this context, including the subject. And also in different levels. So a lot of research on formative assessment is made in higher education. It doesn't necessarily works with younger kids. But we hope that this MOOC that we're doing, AFL, it's an open MOOC, it's for free, everyone can participate. I have classmates from all over the world, we're 6,000 or so. But you need someone to talk to as well. That's why I think to talk in Swedish, how to pose a question, and to design a test, hinge point question, you need to get together. I think so. Yeah. And now I'm sorry, but, yes, one more question.
So, what's this up? I've been involved in setting up one of his TLC's same project, and spoke to dinner with him. He was quite insistent that it should be voluntary. And we pushed on this here because I was having a discussion with my principal, and he wanted to be compulsory, and it went compulsory in the end. But what effect do you think that had? Because it said he was really quite insistent that it should be a voluntary system, because he gave the reason that you don't want the unmotivated teacher in there, but impinging on all the other teachers in there. So if you've got one teacher in there who doesn't want to do it, is going to roll their eyes, because the whole point is you want people to take risks. What's your experience of that?
Well, that was one of the challenges that the principal said before we started. What about those people who never does things or just don't believe in this? But I said to the principal that you know your group. I know that Dylan says that it should be voluntary, but I think that the school principal know more about their teachers than Dylan does. So they decided to have it mandatory instead. And I've heard one of this in school B that has been most endured for longest time. He said, one of the school principals said that, well, I still have teachers that use the techniques in kind of funny ways, but they see that they are maybe some people need longer to get started. But if you're never, if everything is voluntary, maybe you can just go on what you've been doing for years. And also the model also builds on strengths. You don't mandate what they should do in the classroom. The teachers themselves decide on what they want to get better at, etc. So I don't know, actually. Mm. Mm. Interesting. Do you have the same experience? Yeah. 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 Well, thank you once again for listening. And now we have to go to the big hall. You have to make a run for it. So.